Hello, welcome to my presentation. I'm pretty excited about this. Number one, because I enjoy talking to an audience. I haven't had a chance to do this in quite some time. The last time I spoke publicly at Northwestern Oklahoma State University with a panel of experts on child trauma. The First Lady of Oklahoma, Governor Stitt's wife, put on an ACE resilience presentation and had a panel of guests, and I was very honored and humbled to be included in that panel. This is my first opportunity to speak publicly, and unfortunately, I have the mask ready to go. I was ready to be all, included at Longfellow, and here we are at our worst cold snap in over 30 years in Oklahoma. So I'm going to do the best that I can to give you an engaging presentation. I normally get pretty animated when I have an audience. I'm going to do my best to think that you're sitting here with me in this empty classroom. So imagining, 100 faces jam-packed into a room, just wanting to know a lot about resilience. And I'm going to focus, for those of you that have seen me, I'm sure you've been in the school system at some point. If you've been in the school system for a while, you've either talked to me or heard me talk about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and about how bad they are. And that used to be the conclusion of the story up until about 2014. Now, for those of you that know about ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, it took place in the 90s, took place with adults. It was looking back 50 years on what happened to these adults who were now average age 57, who were completing a survey about their health and their experiences for their health insurance plan. And so, big survey, 25,000 sent out, returned 75%, around 17,500 came back to the researchers. And so they have, if you know anything, you've been watching like clinical trials for COVID-19 shots and how effective they are. 17,500 is a pretty big sample. It's pretty good size study, and so this carried a lot of weight, and there were a lot of spin-off studies. A lot of other scientific disciplines got involved. Magnetic resonance imaging, fMRIs, looking at how the brain was impacted, function. Different medical groups. Sociologically, psychologically, just people really honed in on the ACE study because of what it found. And it found that, in essence, it found that a number, there are 10 ACEs in the original study, and I'll go over those. This is just a brief introduction. I'll go over those in a minute. If you had more of them, it basically really impeded you physically and psychologically. And so that used to be the end of the story. When I first found out about ACEs, I got excited because they're like, oh, now it explains why I have so many children and parents generationally that are just continuing to really struggle. And so it was nice to know something rather than just because, I worked with a lot of people who frankly were burned out, who were just blaming parents. And if they just get off their ass and, excuse my language, and parent, then things would get better. And so we're really good about scapegoating, unfortunately, where it would be. And so I guess in a way I was scapegoating, but rather than scapegoating a person, because I was in the group that would scapegoat the parents. I worked at Meadow Lake Hospital for 6 years, and I got burned out there because it's like, well, we're getting them fixed in the hospital, and we're sending them back to the same environment that they just came from, and now the kids are going to really struggle. And they're going to struggle in school, and they're going to come back to Meadow Lake. And that happened a lot. And I'm sure that you as teachers have noticed that a lot, have noticed, from year to year, okay, gosh, here's this kid. I better, if you're in seventh grade, if you're teaching seventh grade, watch out, because here comes this kid. Okay, the next year they're going to be in eighth grade, so watch out. I know we're looking out for each other as professionals, and I think that's well intentioned, but there's also this thing that hopefully we can do something that can make an impact. So rather than hone in on, I will briefly go into detail about what happens with ACEs, particularly neurologically. I'm not going to run through a lot of stats that I used to do with the ACEs, because it used to be, it just ended kind of depressingly, like, yeah, here's why. If we can just prevent the ACEs from happening, because that's really what the authors of the study still, I saw Dr. Anda, one of the original authors of the study. I've also seen Dr. Folletti a few years ago as well. But they're out there promoting, and rightfully so, they're promoting this prevention. And prevention is fabulous because then you don't have the neurological changes and the dysfunction. So that's step one. But step two, and possibly even more importantly, because it's hard to reverse the clock, and this is where we are as professionals, how do you work with people who have a lot of ACEs? And how do you instill that resilience? I know there's a big push in the Enid school system, and I'm very supportive of it. Looking at Dr. Chan Hellman, a lot of his research on hope and instilling hope in our students. And I will dovetail a lot with that. So if you hear some common themes, that's intentional, but also just unavoidable, because if you're looking at resilience, a lot of this research now is coming together that has been floating around out there for a while. And so the better part of this presentation with you is going to be on instilling resilience. And a lot of this that I'm going to help with you is going to be some self-practice. And so because this is now a video and not an in-presence, like on a stage working with you, because this is a video thing, I'm going to have you pause the video at points and maybe follow along with me. But I really want to impart some self-care. I want to impart some ways that we can take care of ourselves. And I think that the biggest part of this is, I had a student not long ago say to me, you can't pour from an empty cup. In other words, you each got into this profession because you wanted to give back. You wanted to help society. It wasn't because any one of us wanted to become rich, obviously. But it was because we want to help children, and we want to help children learn. And we can't help children learn when we're empty ourselves, when we've already poured it all out, when we've left it all out on the field. And this past year, we've poured it out all on the field. I mean, you're teaching, you're face-to-face, you're dealing with virtual. I mean, you've been stretched every which way. And so I'm going to really focus the last part of this, of our time, is going to really be, and it's not, and some of it may seem hokey, but it's built on research. I'm not going to just throw stuff out there that I haven't found some evidence that says, hey, this is effective to help you deal with your own stress. And the very first trauma-informed training I went to, I'm certified in the state of Oklahoma to be a trauma-informed trainer, teach people how to work with others who've been through trauma. The better part of helping others is being healthy ourselves. And so I'm going to help with that, and hopefully this will be inspirational to you and also helpful to you in your lives, in your day-to-day practice, and can make a difference moving to the end of the semester and also in the next year. So I'm going to pause it there. I'm going to hit stop, and I'm going to pick it back up.